Wow. So my previous video just got rendered completely useless. In it, I laid out how I think Daniel should resolve the crisis that just landed in his lap. But it turns out that someone had already advised him months ago about his behavior, and honestly the results are disappointing, to say the least. Jay just released his new video on his channel OddJayAlter talking about the situation just a couple hours ago, and he elaborated on what Stephen put out there. And honestly, based on what he said on his video, I'm not just incredibly disappointed by Dan as a fan of DanPlan. Now I'm mad.
I had a hunch that something was off with DanPlan channel internally. So I decided to do a small investigation privately, and when Dan found out about it, that I was digging, he adamantly tried to make me drop it. He did not want me to dig around. And that is when I learned several extremely dangerous issues.
When Stephen released his video, I didn't immediately unsubscribe from the DanPlan channel. The reason is that DanPlan is not just Daniel himself. There are animators, there's guests, there's Hosa, there's a bunch of other things going on in the background. I believe that unsubbing would be damaging to the team behind everything, and it would undermine their livelihood and all the efforts and hard work that they put into each video. The other reason was that Stephen said that both sides of the story should be heard. So I waited for Daniel's response. But right now, I am unsubscribed from DanPlan. In the last video that I made, I talked about how Dan should navigate the situation and how he could recover the community's trust. I don't think that's possible anymore. Not after what Jay revealed in his video. At first I thought Daniel was just waiting for the situation to blow over, for everyone to calm down and maybe forget about the situation. But right now I think even Daniel knows that the situation won't be recovered. Any response that he tries to give won't be well received by the audience, because by the time that he does respond, everyone will be too pissed off by his inexcusable actions. I said before that I don't think Daniel is a bad guy. I'm gonna have to take that statement back. Charitable actions don't necessarily mean that you're a good person or even that you care. And Jay put it pretty well in his own video. So I'm gonna put a couple clips here and there just of what Jay said in his videos, so I hope that's okay with him.
Dan doing charity live stream, or doing the charity show off for homeless, or whatever the live stream was about. But it's such a most knee-jerk response when doing a charity. Yeah, you did a charity, it's a good thing, but do you even believe in what you're donating for? Monetary, like money, extra money. Then donate to charity. But before you donate, at least take care of your own crew first.
In his video, Jay talks about how he met Dan in his first year of university and how he was interested in making something on YouTube, starting a channel. So Jay joined up with them and started recording episodes as a member. Soon enough, though, he realized that something was going on in the background and decided to start his own investigation to get a clearer picture, which is when he discovered how Dan treats the animators, Stephen, and how he runs the channel as a whole. When Dan started the channel, it was just him and Hosa, and to him, it seems like anyone who came after that doesn't deserve to be considered an OG member. To me, the OG members are Stephen, Hosa, Jay, and Dan. Jay might have been added later, but he fit so well into the dynamic and added so much to the format on the channel that it was just seamless.
Dan decided himself to split the channel's revenue 50-50 with himself and Hosa. He purposely left out Stephen.
It's just honestly shocking to see how Daniel treats people he considers to be friends. Simply put, Daniel wasn't what people came to see when they clicked on a DanPlan video. Sure, he was very important to the content and the flow of the episodes, but he wasn't the personality that drew in the laughs or created standout moments people came to see. It was Steven's quick wit and borderline sociopathic humor, and Hosa, who was a great foil with his kindness and empathy, and all of that being his defining traits. These people were important to the channel. Now I just don't know what's left after that. With everyone gone, what does it matter? Steven's left the channel and started streaming, and he's obviously not coming back. Jay isn't going to be willing to work with Dan after what he's done. And Hosa, according to Jay, has left the country, has left Canada for his mandatory 2-year military service in Korea. And he probably won't come back to the channel, not after 2 years. Where does that leave Steven? Without the cast that defined the show, it's like a Marvel movie without any of the superheroes. He's basically a Dungeons and Dragons DM without any players to play his campaign. And where's the entertainment in that? And now, honestly, I can see why Daniel kept his response quiet for so long. Why he kept it all under wraps. There's nothing for the channel to go back to after the controversy dies. No one's going to be willing to accept a new cast, not after how he handled working with the original guys. And it'll just prove that he thinks everyone is someone that can be replaced when they're no longer part of the channel. That everyone is disposable. The truth is that DanPlan will never be the same. No matter where it goes, it's impossible to watch it and still feel that same genuine feeling that it had before. Just a couple of friends having a conversation, talking about fun and interesting topics. It's sad, and it makes me so mad that a channel that I enjoyed so much, a channel that always had me waiting for the next episode, now leaves such a bad taste in my mouth. Neither Jay nor Stephen were properly compensated for their contributions to the channel. But still, when Stephen found out how much money Dan was making on the channel, he went to Daniel and he tried to work things out. And when Jay noticed that things weren't going well with the channel, he went to Dan and he tried to give him advice and he tried to work things out. Both times, Daniel just brushed them off like their opinions don't mean anything. How many times can you try to help someone before they realize they're digging their own grave? How many times can you treat your friends as disposable before they stop trying? It's actually amazing how long all of them put up with being treated like this. It's crazy how he could treat all his friends as just content. Everything about this just doesn't feel right. As an artist and an animator, probably the worst part for me is how Daniel treated his animators. They were underpaid to animate Dan's show. They were working to make what he created come to life, and he decided to treat them as nothing but disposable. Unlike the main cast, the animators were employees. I'll give you that. But since when do you treat employees like that? Since when did being an employee mean that you shouldn't be treated right? Apparently Dan paid them less and justified it by saying it's good for where the animators lived.
Now, one thing that Dan might bring up if he ever talks about this is that, well, I'm paying them really well considering where they live, because most of our animators does live in East Asia, where the minimum wage is very, very low. But you're not in Philippines, you're not in China, you're in Canada. Pay them with a Canadian standard.
Honestly, honestly just don't know what to say about that. What do you say to that? How can you exploit people who work so hard on your videos? How can it be so natural? Every single one of those animators are talented. They make great art. They make the videos come to life. And to hear that these talented people are treated as replaceable is just so... Maybe they would stay longer if they were treated right and paid better. How could it ever be worthwhile to work when it's pretty much just for exposure? Of course, in the creative industry, in the creative world, people work for exposure all the time. But when you work for exposure, it's because the client is a long-term client and they're worth the investment. How can it be worth the investment when you're just a disposable tool? I just hope people go ahead and support these animators, support all of the cast members, and go to their Instagrams, their Twitters, their YouTube channels, and just support them and show some love. Everyone on the channel should know their self-worth, and they should be doing something worthy of their time. I don't know, man. I really hope that it's still possible for Dan to learn from his mistakes. Obviously, my old video it's not gonna take effect anymore. It's not gonna make sense for him to respond like that. It's already been put out there how bad the situation was. So I don't think there's any recovery from that. But I just hope that instead of folding in on himself and giving up, I hope Daniel is able to pick himself back up and, rearrange the pieces, put something together that can work, be able to change and treat people right and make amends in the situation. I really want to see a sincere apology where the truth is laid out and everything is just acknowledged. But honestly, I don't think we'll get it. I don't know if we'll get it. So go support Jay, go support Stephen, go support all the animators and everyone who was involved in the production of DanPlan, everyone who was involved in making that channel so great, making it what it was. Even Dan. But I don't know, man. It's going to be hard to forgive that type of behavior. It's not going to happen very quickly. It's not going to happen now. It's not going to happen in a month. It's going to take a while. So he's going to have to show that he's changed. He's going to have to show that he can do things different. I don't know, man. I just hope for the best for everyone in the situation. All right. Peace.